we need to talk about Avalanche. So hey everyone, welcome back to Upside Down Data. Today I want to talk about AVAX, which has been putting in a massive, very impressive move to the upside, and whether or not it might be likely to start forming a local top here, need to consolidate and or correct before being able to continue a rally later on, or if it still has fuel in the tank to consider its impressive move up. So let's go ahead and talk about it. So Avalanche has moved up quite impressively. It moved up a little bit later than some of the other earlier movers like Solana or Chainlink, but it got up to a high of a 183% move to the upside relative to the October lows. Very impressive, but is now corrected pretty deeply off of this current local top here, coming all the way back down, and it's currently trading at negative about 7% on the day as I record this on the 17th. So is this likely to mark that local top, and will it need to now consolidate further? Let's talk about what some of our models are seeing that we have here on the channel. So this is our short-term upside downside potential indicator, or UDPI. It is a risk model that we have here at the channel. So higher levels mean higher risk, lower levels mean lower risk. And so what we can see here is that the short-term UDPI for AVAX got very overextended, getting up above 4. It's now retraced back down below 4 with this move down, but it had gotten quite overextended. And I'd actually been posting this on X as this was happening, that it was getting quite overheated and that it needing to slow down was becoming more and more likely. Indeed, that's exactly what we're seeing. We're really seeing this potential for a local top forming at the exact type of level that we thought was likely. And so from this perspective, I think it is very reasonable to think that we will set in a local high. Now, that doesn't mean that it's the top or that we have to go in some massive correction. We just look in the past, every time the short-term UDPI has gotten really overextended like this, it's either marked up a point where it's needed to correct or consolidate for a while before being able to continue up, or a more notable local top that's required deeper correction from there. So that's where I think my base case right now is that AVAX is probably overheated and needs some more time to cool down. Now, that doesn't mean there won't be volatility, and so it's very possible that maybe AVAX does go up and put in a higher high relative to the top of this wick here at some point in the next couple days. But I think the main meat of the move is probably in, at least in the short term, and I think it's going to need some time to kind of catch its breath, consolidate, maybe not even have to test lower levels, maybe try to flip some of these lower levels that were resistance into support, something like that, before then being able to move further on to the upside. And so another thing we can look at to see of how likely that's going to be is our trend confidence indicator, or TCI. So this is a model that basically tells you how healthy a move is. So if you see the TCI move up, that's oftentimes an early sign that some bullish action might be coming. So we saw, for example, here, TCI moves up aggressively, then price follows. But then vice versa, when you have the TCI moving down, that suggests that that move, the momentum, the strength of that move is weakening, and that you might need to spend some more time kind of slowing down, consolidating before being able to move up. Again, same thing here, move up aggressively, kind of leading into this bullish move here, but then falling off in advance, suggesting that this move up was weakening, and then down we went indeed. So if we zoom in of what the TCI is doing right now, we can see that it did start moving up in anticipation of this move, before this move, giving an early warning that something like this might be coming. But now we're starting to slow down. So it is still trending up. It is set in a higher high relative to this high back here, but it's slowing down. And so if we do see this really reverse hard to the downside, start to trend hard to the downside, like over here, for example, then you might just expect there to be some more weakness that AVAX has to show, consolidate, correction, etc. Something we'll have to wait and see. So it hasn't fully confirmed that yet, but it wouldn't be surprising if it does soon, especially if we see AVAX continue to chop around a bit over here. I would expect the TCI to confirm that, and it might just suggest we have more kind of reset that needs to happen before we can move up as aggressively. But those are short-term considerations, as I've been talking about. Whether or not it has to spend time correcting here, consolidating, whatever, that's a short-term outlook, and in the longer term it might not matter all that much. And one of the things that we can look at also in looking at the more medium to longer term is our forecast model. So this is a model that tells you what is the probability, how likely is it that the price of AVAX will be above where it is right now 6 months in the future. And so you'll see in bull markets it tends to get very bullish at these times when up is the dominant move, where most of the time it will be the case that price will be up in 6 months relative to wherever it was at the time. But then in going into bear markets, you'll see, for example, how it fell off a cliff here going into the all-time high in November of 21, getting all the way down to about 13%, over here down to 6% chance of upside in 6 months. So that led into this deep correction that we saw coming out of it. But now we've seen the forecast model really start to go back up as AVAX has gotten down into this kind of long accumulation zone in this bear market. And especially as we went into the more recent days, up and up and up. And it's now currently up at about 92% chance of upside in 6 months. So whatever happens in the short term, if it has to correct, consolidate, whatever, it still seems like the overall sentiment, the overall position, at least according to the forecast model, is bullish. That I think it's much more reasonable to be bullish on AVAX right now than bearish in the medium to long term. So nothing, of course, is guaranteed. And obviously, this isn't financial advice. You just make your own opinions about the data. But I think when I look across these models, what I'm seeing is that short term, I think AVAX is very overheated. It will probably need to correct, probably need to spend some time consolidating from here. I don't think we can just continue ripping to the upside like it has. I think the main meat of this move is over in the short term. But longer term, I think it has gas in the tank. And if we really are in the early stages of a bull market, then in some ways what happens in the short term doesn't really matter all that much. If we're in a zone like here or even here, we're not really going to care much if, AVAX is trading at new all-time highs in a year or two. And so that's it. In the short term, it seems like we're getting overheated, but really what that might just mean is that there'd be some nice opportunities that if it does correct down, for those who missed this initial pump, to be able to get a better entry to ride it up in the future. Now, obviously, the normal caveats apply. If we have a recession or anything like that, that could change the outlook. But right now, a lot of the data is pointing to us being in an early bull market for crypto. And if that's the case, this has just been the first big move out of the bear market lows. And that, when you just look at history with a lot of assets, that first move, even if you miss it, there's plenty of opportunities that come later. All right, so if you like the content, remember to subscribe to the channel, give the video a like, and follow us on Twitter. And also, if you want to view live data from our models and more, do so at our website, claritydigital.io. Link is in the description.